Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome. I am here with my TBR for October 2024, and I'm very excited about this TBR. I tend to be excited about October because I try every year to save some of the spookier, creepier, scarier books that I'm interested in reading to, of course, read during spooky Halloween season. And this year, I'm going to be participating for the first time ever in Blackoween, which is a readathon created by Bree of Locked Booktition. I will link Bree's video in the description box below announcing Blackoween for this year. It's been going for a number of years already. And this is a readathon celebrating work by Black authors in a range of genres, which certainly includes genres perfect for spooky season. I learned about this readathon from Robin over at Robin's Reflections, who posted in her community tab asking whether anybody was doing Blackoween. I went and watched the announcement video and was like, yep, yep, I'm so in. There are books on my TBR that would fit into this readathon perfectly, and so very excited. I am not going to explain the intricacies of exactly how the readathon works. For that, you can go and check out Bree's video, but just briefly, the readathon is based around a map with multiple areas, and each area has 6 prompts, and one of those 6 is always kind of a wild card bonus free space. So the idea is that each of these areas has a theme, and you can participate in Blackoween by picking one prompt from one area, reading one book. Fabulous, right? Or you can complete an area by reading 5 or 6 prompts, all from one area. And doubling up is allowed. So if a book satisfied 2 prompts in the same area, that would be fine. You could read that one book and check off 2. What caught my eye about this, in addition to just liking the prompts and the themes, what caught my attention about this is that there's a kind of cumulative aspect where the Blackoween has been going for a number of years now, and so people are completing, one area of the map one year, and then another area or 2 of the map next year, and so on and so forth, until you've completed all of the areas, and then you can have the title of Grand Searcher. And I have to say that a cumulative aspect will draw me in, right? I don't read competitively or anything, but this little bit of a challenge I quite enjoy, particularly when it's a readathon in a context where there are books on my TBR that would totally fit this already. So it just seemed really fun. So I have come up with a TBR of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. 10 books totaling 2,201 pages, with the intention of completing 2 different areas in the map in a single month. This is within my bounds of possibility in terms of number of pages read in a month, based on how many pages I've been reading every month of the year so far. 2,200 is well within the realm of possibility, but I have to say, given how much horror is on this list, I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit scared of the list that I have constructed, but I'm also really excited. And I'm excited to hear about other people's reading, because there's a Discord server associated with Blackoween, which I'm also all about. So very, very excited. So thank you to Robin too for mentioning this readathon, and thank you so much to Bree for putting it together and for all of your work, because this is going to be so much fun. So the 2 areas that I have decided to focus on are actually not the 2 that I thought. There was one that stuck out to me at first, and I thought, I'll probably end up in this one because it seemed like one where a lot of sci-fi could fit. But that's totally not where I ended up once I wrote down a bunch of books on my TBR and started looking at what could fit where. So I have 2 areas that I'm going to do, and those are Joe's Library and St. Treme Graveyard. I will timestamp below based on the prompts, but not the book titles. So you can watch on ahead if you would like to learn about the books on my October TBR. So Joe's Library, the first prompt is a book with historical reference. And for that, I've chosen The Undertakers by Nicole Glover. The Undertakers is a sequel to a book called The Conductors, which I read a couple of years ago and really liked. And this is a series that has a historical reference because it is set in post-Civil War Philadelphia, and the main characters, Hetty and Benji, who are a couple, were conductors on the Underground Railroad. And they solve mysteries, and they do so at times using a system of magic that involves constellations, and it's kind of like a sigil magic. So there's a fantastical aspect, but it's also historical. So I thought that this was a good opportunity to continue this series. I'm not sure how many of these books Nicole Glover intends, if it's intended to be a trilogy, but I think that The Undertakers is the most recently published one. So I'm excited about that. The second prompt in Joe's Library is a genre that I really do not read much of at all, and that is crime fiction. I didn't have anything on my TBR that I felt really solidly fit the prompt of crime fiction, so here I relied on the recommendations. Bree's announcement video includes recommendations for different areas and different prompts, and since this is a readathon that's been going for a while, there are other videos that different folks have made detailing their TBRs or the books that they've read, so I looked at some of those. And for crime fiction, I chose Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley. I've never read anything by Walter Mosley before. He's written many, many, many books. And Devil in a Blue Dress seems like a popular pick for this prompt. And it is the first book in a series following a detective or investigator, might be an investigator, a PI, named Easy Rollins. And so this one is set, this could also be the book for historical reference. A number of the books could double up, but I don't like a double up as much. So could fit historical reference, but I'm using it for crime fiction because it follows a character, Easy Rollins, who's a veteran, who's out of work. It's set in the 1940s. And it is, I understand, the first of several Easy Rollins books. It has great reviews. I did not have this book on my radar at all. So I'm really looking forward to reading something that, has really only come to my attention because of this readathon, and to be reading a bit outside of my usual sci-fi fantasy comfort zone. I've tried to do that in this TBR. I've also tried to read, with some diversity in the sense of reading not only authors from one country, for example, or only one genre, so I'm really excited. So Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley for crime fiction. The next prompt is written by an Indigenous man. And for this, I chose Anoka, A Collection of Indigenous Horror by Shane Hawk. Shane Hawk's work I have read before in another collection. It was like an anthology with many authors represented. So I've only read a little bit of Shane Hawk's work before, but this is a collection, all of his short stories. The reviews are good and it sounds terrifying. So I'm ready. I'm excited. I do enjoy short stories. I'm not a huge horror reader, but every so often some horror catches my attention and I will tend to put it on my TBR, and then October rolls around and then I look at it. So that's what's happening here. By an Indigenous man, Anoka, A Collection of Indigenous Horror by Shane Hawk. The fourth prompt in Joe's Library is a book written by a Black man. And quite a few books on my 10-book TBR would satisfy this prompt. But the book that I chose from my existing never-ending Goodreads / Storygraph want to read shelf, it's never-ending. That is a book that is written by a Black man, is In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogundiran. This is an author who I've wanted to read for quite some time. And this is a novella. I love a novella. It is the first in a series. There's a sequel coming. I don't think it's out yet. Love a novella, love a series. And In the Shadow of the Fall follows a acolyte in a temple of Ifa, and she attempts to trap an Orisha. And of course this does not go as planned. So this is my prompt for a book, not my prompt. This is my book choice for the prompt, book written by a Black man in Joe's library, In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogundiran. And I'm excited to read this. I've wanted to read this for a while. Prompt number 5 in Joe's library is a book with a musical element. This one I kind of found the hardest. And so I've decided this is a place in this one where I will be doubling up. Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley, the crime fiction pick, also satisfies the prompt, a book with a musical element, because there is a component, an important component, I think, from reading the description, a component of the setting and the plot that has to do with being set in jazz clubs. So I'm counting that as a book with a musical element and doubling up there. The 6th prompt for Joe's library is the free space. So just something in the spirit of these prompts, basically, can be chosen for the free space. The free space is not just something totally random. It's something that fits into the broad feel or vibe of the area, right? So I have a arc that I want to read for this, and that is the anthology, The Year's Best African Speculative Fiction 2023. I have read already the Year's Best African Speculative Fiction collections for 2022 and 2021, and I really liked both of them. These are collections that include a really wide range of speculative fiction, so include science fiction, fantasy, horror, a whole kind of range. And so this is a book that I've been planning to read and planning to read around this time of year. So that's my free space. And I really like these kinds of anthologies, like Year's Best kind of books, because it's a way to find new authors to love. And there are some authors who were in the Year's Best African Speculative Fiction, the 2 years prior, who I've then read their work in other contexts or read novels or longer works by them. And so I really recommend these collections. They're very well edited. They're very, very good. So I'm really excited for the 2023. I have no doubt that it will be just as good as the last 2. The second area that I want to complete is St. Treme Graveyard. And so, again, 6 prompts, one of which the end is the free space, and I have a double up, so I've got 5 books chosen. The first prompt in St. Treme Graveyard is a book with of the night vibes. And this I was a little bit stuck with as well. Of the night vibes could be a lot of things. I was thinking about something with scariness of some kind, darkness, nighttime, intensity to fit this prompt. And the book that was on my TBR that I thought could work here is The Practice, the Horizon, and the Chain by Sofia Samatar. This is a pretty new release, I think, and it is described as a mystical, revolutionary space adventure for the exhausted dreamer in this brilliant science fiction novella tackling the carceral state and violence embedded in the ivory tower. And what made me think that it would have of the night vibes is this is set on a mining ship, and my understanding from the description is that it has a lot of kind of class stratifications based on kind of the floors of the ship and the dark depths of the ship being scary places to be for all kinds of reasons. And so The Practice, the Horizon, and the Chain by Sofia Samatar. That is my pick for Of the Night vibes. It's not horror, I don't think, but it definitely feels dystopian. The second prompt, which is a bit of a challenging one, I think, for St. Treme Graveyard, is a book where a deal is made. And I feel like this is a challenging type of a prompt that I love in a readathon, because there's probably a lot of books where a deal is made and nothing on the description of the book says that. It could just be somewhere in the plot that's not emphasized. So I'm kind of guessing a little bit. But there's a book that I really, really, really want to read, and I kind of can't believe I haven't read yet because it's by an author who's one of my favorites, that I think will fit this. A book where a deal is made. And that is The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Djèlí Clark. I love his work. This is a brand new release, and the kind of description of the book starts off, the dead cattail assassins are not cats, nor do they have tails, but they are most assuredly dead. And the main character's name is Evine the Eviscerator. So, my understanding of this book based on the description is that these assassins make deals in terms of agreeing to take jobs. And so, given that that's a core part of the plot, I think it's safe to assume, it's a brand new book, it's safe to assume that it's a book where a deal is made. So, that's the book that I chose. The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Djèlí Clark. And his Master of Jinn is one of my absolute favorites. Like, absolute favorites. I love his characters, so I'm really excited. The third prompt for St. Treme Graveyard is a murder with multiple points of view. And again, I went with something from the recommendations for this. I didn't know what to choose. I do really like a multi-POV book. I don't read a lot of kind of murder mystery or these kinds of genres where a murder is central necessarily in the way that this prompt seems to invite. But I love a multi-POV book. So I chose White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi, who I've never read before. And this book looks fantastic. It was one of the suggestions on the story graph. The story graph, there is a challenge. Like someone has made a challenge on Storygraph using the challenge functionality for this readathon, and people add the books that they're planning to read for each prompt. I've done that as well. And somebody had added White is for Witching for this murder with multiple points of view. And this just sounds really intense and has to do with a house that is perhaps haunted by women, in particular generations of women. And the house may have its own kind of designs on the people who live there. I try not to spoiler these things for myself too much, so I appreciate that my descriptions are really general. But this sounds really, really good. I'm really excited. I know that Helen Oyeyemi has written other works that are on my to-read pile as well. So, pile. This is not a physical pile. When I talk about the TBR, it's the to-read bookmark link on Goodreads or Storygraph. There's a lot on there. I'm excited. I'm excited about this one. Fourth prompt for St. Treme Graveyard is a horror/thriller book with body parts, which I think is just an amazing prompt. Yes. Perfect for horror season. Perfect. For this one, I knew exactly what I was going to pick, and that is The Murders of Molly Southbourne by Tade Thompson. And Tade Thompson is an author who I've read before. I read his novel Rosewater, which is a science fiction novel. It's the first in a trilogy. And I've also read another standalone science fiction book by him as well. This is a novella. And the description of the book reads, "Whenever she bleeds, another Molly is born, identical to her in every way and intent on her destruction." So every time Molly Southbourne bleeds, it creates a double that then tries to kill her. Horrifying. Horrifying. I like Tade Thompson, so I'm excited. I feel like I'm gonna not be able to sleep for October with some of these picks. Between this one, White is for Witching, and Shane Hawke's horror collection, I might be scared all month. I'm really excited though. Really excited. Okay. The fifth prompt for St. Treme Graveyard is a book with ancestral knowledge. This one, you are allowed to double up between areas. And so for this, a book with ancestral knowledge, I think In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogundiran that I'm reading for the Joe's Library prompt could also work here. Because thinking of ancestral knowledge in this particular context of reading and celebrating books by Black authors, this is a book that directly references and relates to African traditional religion, and that Orishas are central to the book. So that feels like it fits pretty neatly into that prompt as well. So I'm going to put that one there. Prompt number 6 is the free space for St. Treme Graveyard. And St. Treme Graveyard has some scary prompts. Like a prompt with body parts? Okay, so for the free space for this one, for St. Treme Graveyard, I wanted to pick something scary, and I picked This World Is Not Yours by Kemi Ashingiwa. This is a author who I've read before once, and I liked the book that I read. And This World Is Not Yours has to do with a family who are on some kind of new planetary colony, science fiction horror. And there's some kind of technology or entity of some sort on this planet that attacks invasive organisms. Oh, but so far it hasn't attacked any of the humans who are trying to colonize this planet. Kind of sounds like from the description that will change over the course of the book, and that there will be a horror aspect based on that. I like a sci-fi horror, so This World Is Not Yours by Kemi Ashingiwa for my free space in St. Treme Graveyard. So that is my TBR for October. My full 10 book TBR for spooky season for Blackoween 2024 is The Undertakers by Nicole Glover, Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley, Anoka, a collection of Indigenous horror by Shane Hawke, In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogundiran, the year's best African speculative fiction anthology collection forthcoming, The Practice, the Horizon, and the Chain by Sophia Samatar, The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Jelly Clark, White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi, The Murders of Molly Southbourne by Tade Thompson, and finally, This World Is Not Yours by Kemi Ashingiwa. That is my 10 book TBR. It's going to be scary. Let me know what you're reading for spooky season October in the comments. Let me know if you've read and loved any of these particular books, or if you're participating in Blackoween, do let me know if you're reading anything similar or any of the same prompts as me. I would love to chat spooky books with you. Thank you so much for watching, and again, thank you so much to Bree of Locked Booktition for putting this amazing readathon together. Have a good one, and I'll see you again soon.